Even if you say goodbye, you'll never go away. You are the rainbow in my sky, my colors in the gray, my only wish on a star, sunshine of the day, the only song that my piano ever plays. And even if you say goodbye, you'll always be around to lift me up and take me high, keep my feet close to the ground. Are you proud of me tonight? Dreams are coming true. I choose the light, nothing to lose if I lose you. New day will everyone cries. Don't cry alone. Darkness will fade, all the pain will go by, but we will stay, even if you say goodbye. Même si tu dis adieu, tu ne partiras jamais. Mon ciel bleu, mais qu'alors dans le cri, l'amour se souhaite sous un ciel tard, un rayon de ma journée, la seule chanson que mon piano peut jouer. Don't cry alone, darkness will fade, the pain will go by, but we will stay, even as you say.
Welcome everyone. My name is Soraya Dean. We are a coalition of Muslim women led by the American Muslim Multi-Faith Women's Empowerment Council. Every Friday we come to you with this program called the Friday Forum. Our goal is to explore solutions to the debilitating problems of our times, particularly the hate, the anti-Semitism, the violence, the extremism that is robbing us of life. And our goal is to explore solutions, as I said, and to bring in experts on the topic who are dealing with the problem on the ground. Today's program is very timely, very critical, and very important because with us is Inbal. She is somebody who's working on the ground, who has so much to share with us on an issue that is so relevant to our lives today. We know 100 years after the Balfour Declaration was issued to establish a Jewish homeland in Palestine, the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians persists. People like to say that the conflict is between good and evil, but I also think the real conflict is between truth and lies. Talking to us this morning, I am in Los Angeles. I know it's evening, Sabbath time for Inbal. We are going to talk about the axis of resistance and the anti-normalization laws as obstacles for peace. Why is it that we, after 75 years, we still can't even achieve any kind of peace, that we have to depend on accords and negotiations and politics? Where are the people? There's something that's broken at the root. And we're going to be in conversation with Inbal about that, because Inbal is precious to us in the sense that she works, her boots are on, and she works on the ground. Inbal is a peace builder working across communities, organizations, and institutions. Her work focuses on fostering dialogue, addressing sensitive social realities, and creating spaces where people can connect beyond division. Through collaboration with NGOs, governmental bodies, and grassroots leaders, Inbal strives to support initiatives that promote moderation, that promotes understanding, resilience, and long-term coexistence. Over the years, she has worked with people of many religions and nationalities, especially with Muslims in the region, including hundreds of Palestinians in the West Bank. So in Bal, so many people are working in so many directions and so many ways. Tell us something about you more, if I didn't do justice in that introduction. Why did you choose this path?
So thank you very much, Soraya. You do a lot of justice with me. Thank you so much for that introduction and for inviting me and giving me that stage and the opportunity to talk to such a vast, amazing target audience, and especially talking to moderate Muslims and Muslim women. It is my honor, it is my mission to be here. Why did I choose that path? I think that path chose me. I grew up in a very moderate surrounding, in a kibbutz, in a very cross-cultural, multicultural surrounding, with parents from South America, together with people from France and Israelis, surrounded by Muslim villages. Everything was very multicultural. So I think that was maybe my base. But growing up here, suffering from the conflict, I never thought, well, I'm also an IDF veteran, like everybody here. We all serve. We all have to serve. So I never thought of being a peace builder. It wasn't my dream to be a peace builder. And when I started, studying, after becoming a mother of two, I started studying family coaching and then purpose work. And working on my purpose, I found out that it is my purpose to do that. Started studying everything that has to do with conflict, voice dialogue, collaboration work, art of hosting, everything that I could, psychology, social psychology, you name it. And still studying since then. And then 2009, I started actually working, as you said, boots on the ground. So 16 years and more, I have been working with, the beginning very locally in Israel with Palestinians or Muslim Israelis, and then 2013 started working with Palestinians. And I've learned a lot. I gained a lot of friends and personal relationships with Palestinians and Muslims across the MENA, but especially with Palestinians. And I think that from getting to know the Palestinians on this personal level, really being, a host or a guest in their homes, having them like a family for me. The West Bank was my second home before October 7th. First of all, I was lucky to understand how much we missed. We missed the entire Muslim culture. The food, the music, the religion, the people. And I think I was lucky to get that, to really become someone who is living, who is welcome in both cultures. Of course, it comes with some difficulties because some people can feel that people like me are betrayers, right? Because you also understand the enemy, you also love the enemy. But I feel it is very much God's will that I will be walking here with love and peace in my heart and good judgment, and understanding, learning, studying everything I can about the cultures of the region, the history, and the way they experience the conflict and they understand the situation. And it's been one heck of a journey and a very, very important school for me.
Wow.
So yeah, go ahead.
So Inbal, so you went to the West Bank, but you also felt the tension. You were also looked upon as the enemy, but you were also welcomed in some homes. Uh, so, what did that make you feel?
So before October 7th, I just, as I said, the West Bank was my both professional and personal second home. I worked a lot in the West Bank. I led a few, many meetings and gatherings and projects. I've contributed to planning of interventions. I'm always working to be effective. Dialogue is not an effective form of peace building. What we are doing in peace building is that we are making sure that people have enough to do for enough time to make sure that they change the way they look at the other. And this is how we make people understand that the other is not a demon. It doesn't matter from what side, right? So the interventions have to be effective. They have to be life-changing. They have to be change the way people experience their life here. So this is what I have been doing.
Okay.
If you want, I can again go a little bit into that and then tell you more about October 7th and after.
Yes. Also, I'm curious to know, because I have been in Israel. I've seen the checkpoints going into Gaza. When you enter the checkpoints, do you walk freely or somebody has to escort you? How safe was it for you?
So yeah, it's a very good question. The situation on the ground is very complicated. So the checkpoints, the way you call it, Israelis don't use them. The checkpoints or the cross-border points are for Palestinians, and they need to have a permit to cross into Israel. The checkpoints for cars are for Israelis because Israelis can drive from one place to another. Usually we are not being, I was never checked, but I had to go through, driveway checkpoints. Some Palestinians can still drive into Israel. They must be doctors or, they must have a specific permit for that. For an Israeli to get into Palestinian territories, for me, I felt it, I'm going to die. I just had this fear and I said, I'm never going to do it. I will never be brave enough to do it. And then I did it. In the beginning, the first time I was so horrified. And I think it's true about everyone here, right? Palestinians are so afraid to come into Israel even when they have a permit, and Israelis are so afraid to go over to the West Bank. And I've learned that to go there, yes, you must have a local host. You must. It's a very tribal society. If if your host is, a member of one of the tribes in a village or a town, then you're very safe. And I have learned the ways of how to go there and with who and what to talk about, what not to talk about. There are taboos. It's a completely different culture. It's a completely different religion. And I think the most important thing for me, of course, everything, it's a daily experience, adventure. So it's very hard to share everything. And there are many, many funny things and many things and experiences that I will never forget and people that I will never forget. But I think from a professional point of view, I did learn about how they learn about the situation. And that is an important knowledge for peace builders. And it's important to know across the world what's going on here.
So when you went in 2013, and when I think of the Ramallah lynching in 2000, the situation was better? Because...
So,
yes, tell us a little bit about the Ramallah lynching.
So, yeah, I grew up here, and obviously I was also a victim of something a terror attack that we call the blood bus. I was a very young child, and Palestinians who came by boats from, I think it was Algeria or Libya, via the Mediterranean. They, took to the beach and stopped a bus, and they started lynching people on the bus. And I was very close to that road. I was visiting my family in a kibbutz nearby. I think I was 8 years old, something like that. And we had to, we were very scared. onto our lives. We were told that the terrorists are surrounding the area and that we must stay under the beds and all of. I don't make you sad, but it was, growing up here is not easy. And I think the Ramallah lynching, where two soldiers were mistakenly getting into Ramallah because everything is mixed here. We are all using the same infrastructure, the same roads, the same. Definitely by then, before all the checkpoints and everything. So they mistakenly took the wrong turn, and they found themselves in this place, and they were lynched. They were murdered with hands, by the hands of the terrorists. And this is there is a very horrific picture that everybody remembers here of the Palestinian with his hands, bloody hands, the blood of these soldiers, these poor Israeli. They weren't even soldiers in the military, they were reserve soldiers. They really didn't know where they are. And, just to think about, and that was a very beginning for me as the first window to the evil of the radicalism that is surrounding us. So I also, I served in the military, and my brother served. Everybody served in the military. My brother also served in Gaza. So it was many, many, many years ago. So I knew from his stories that this evil exists, but to actually see it happening, on TV.
What people need to know is, as we have this conversation in Bali, is that today, I think 2 weeks ago at the Oxford Union in the United Kingdom, people had painted their hands red and they were justifying that level of hatred. And there is no justification for what it is happening in the West on the level of anti-Semitism. And to hear from people like you who have seen it, experienced it, fear it on a daily basis is something our listeners need to hear.
I appreciate you bringing it up. I just want to emphasize that how small the territory here that we are talking about. Ramallah, which I've been at later on. Okay, later on I visited Ramallah and had a great time at the restaurant, and it's mixed. There are moderate people there, amazing people, gay people live in Ramallah. There are nightclubs, right? But I think that it's an hour drive from my home. So everything is very small here. Everything is very close. We are all neighbors. It's not a huge country. You've been here. You can travel around, in 1 hour you're in Hebron, maybe an hour and a half you're in Hebron, in 1 hour you're in Ramallah. Everything is very, very close. So when you see evil like that, it's 1 hour away from your home. It's just really hard to be here without being afraid. You asked me about 2013. How did I feel when I started going? I was horrified. I was a mother of 2 young children. I was sure that I will come back as a salad in a salad box. I was really, and I think it's typical to everybody here. Also, I learned that Palestinians are so afraid to come into Israel, even though it's completely different. Of course, nobody will kill you just because you're a Muslim. In Israel, we have 20% of the Israeli population are Muslims, and we have them, we meet them every day, we live here together. But for Palestinians, they have that fear. They have that horrifying idea that if someone will see them, that they are Muslims, they will be killed in Tel Aviv. So I've learned that whenever I am afraid, there's also someone afraid on the other side. Whenever I am hurtful for friends or friends of my children that were killed or injured or kidnapped, there is also pain on the other side. So it's like, I was just experiencing until 2013 one side of the story, and then I've learned to experience the other side of the story as well. So everything the suffering is just doubled, right? We are all suffering from the radicalism and the evilness of, and the horrific way that narrow interests are being served by the poor people.
True.
And
I want
I
to
think
get to I want to get to the topic we were going to talk about, Inbal. So you are here, a peace activist, crossing into West Bank, giving all of yourself to bring peace, understanding, solidarity, safety, security between the two peoples, and then you are discovering something is not happening right there, and that that affects the ability to make peace is mukawama, the axis of resistance, and the tatbiya, anti-normalization laws, um, and the effect it has on the reality of those of us on the ground, those of us are advocating for peace. Can you talk about both of those that you have experienced and tell
yes.
our
So
listeners who don't know from Adam what this is? Can you explain a little further those two terms and how it's impacting the peace process?
yes, I will try. Okay. So the situation, the conflict is a vast issue, and I will try to focus on these two. But let me start saying that the conflict has both a local, a regional, and a global side of it. Okay. And I think that these two aspects, these two obstacles for peace, are probably regional more than local, but they affect both the global aspect of the conflict, what I would call the global jihad, but the not just, jihad can be very like helping someone cross the street. I'm talking about the radicalist jihad. And it can also affect the person that wants to maybe meet Israelis and see what's going on, right? It has a very local effect, and it has a very global effect, and it has a regional effect. So I found out while I was working with Palestinians that the Arab League back at the 1940s, even before the establishment of the State of Israel, have decided to boycott everything that has to do with Israel wasn't existing yet, but everything that has to do with Jews, with any effect or how did I write it? Let me see. So any occupation or Western civilization's effect on the area they call Sham. Sham is the Levant, the Middle East. And later on, this boycott became laws or a series of laws in different Muslim and Arab countries. And these laws prevent people or prevent the country, prevent establishments from working with Israelis. Palestinians that I met in the beginning wouldn't even use the word Israel. Israel doesn't exist to Palestinians. Israel is something that they would use the word inside, dahil. I'm going inside. They wouldn't say, I'm going to Israel tomorrow, even though 120,000 Palestinians entered Israel for work every single day before October 7th. And Israel, to them, in their narrative, doesn't exist because it is illegal to have any connection with Israel, Israelis, the Jews, unless it is moving you towards a Palestinian state. And the Palestinian state, in the eyes of the Palestinian leaders and the eyes of the Palestinians that I met, every Palestinian is the entire country, of the way they say, from the river to the sea. In Arabic, that chant says the entire area will be Arab. In English, it says Palestine will be free, right? But in Arab, the chant says from the river to the sea, the entire area will be Arab. So you are muted. I cannot hear the question.
Oh, so let's make a huge distinction about that. The Arabs hear that whole area will be Arab. We in the West hear the word Palestine will be free. There is a
But it's
difference.
not.
Okay.
Yes. So narratives are a big, big part of that especially the global aspect of the conflict, because in the West they're speaking Western narratives, right? But the movement and the ideals are the same. So for Palestinians that I'm going back to the local aspect, okay, Palestinians that I met believe that the UN gave in the partition program or plan half of the land that the UN did not own to the Jews. When the Palestinians think about that land as Palestine, that actually never existed, right? It was the British ruled the Sham, the Middle East, the Levant, before they gave back the authority to the UN to, decide about the solution, that the UN decided about the partition. So Palestinians don't know any Jewish history. They don't know about, the kingdoms of Israel and Judea, and why are we called Jews, and and then there's a story that we are not the Jews that are from this area, we are Jews from a different origin, whatever. They have the entire story about why we don't have the right to be here.
Right. So let me interrupt. I just want to lay the foundational bricks. So what you're saying is this all began with the Great Arab Revolt of 1936, where the Arab nationalist movement against British mandated Palestine and the increasing Jewish immigration. Is that right?
I guess, I know that the laws started at the boycott, and the boycott started with the Arab League. So I'm sure there was foundations for these ideas, and I can understand why from their point of view it is justified. Okay, I can understand that. But
so
as
they
a
don't
peace
know any
builder,
of this history, but now they are talking just about the present. Is that what you're saying?
I'm a very, I'm always talking to the, not about the past but about the future. I don't think I don't think there is a solution that lies in the past. We have roots here, they have roots here. Maybe there wasn't a Palestinian people before the conflict, but there is now. Okay, it's completely different than the Jewish people. It doesn't have that long history. They don't feel belong to each other. They are very regional and they're very tribal. Okay, it's different society, but they exist. They are here, and they know, they have a narrative, they have a belief that they are people and that this place belongs to them. So this is the reality we're working. And you said I was an activist, and I'm actually not an activist. An activist is someone using conflict, right, to bring up a point, to bring up an awareness to a point. Peace builders cannot use conflict to create peace. Conflict never create peace. We are using different methods that do not create conflict. We do not choose side in the conflict. We believe that conflict is actually part of life. It's normal to have conflicts, but we're working with the conflicts to find, to create better solutions, to create better realities, to create safer realities, and better, life for people around here.
Okay.
So
okay, yeah. You want to
yeah,
continue? Because
you're also asking me about another aspect. You're asking me about the laws on of normalization.
So in Bal, this is something that we need to know very clearly with very definitive explanations. Why? Because I about 15 years ago in Bal, I was invited to an event at the Israeli consulate here in Los Angeles. Karim Abdul-Jabbar was a guest speaker, and they thought I had made friends with a lady at some interfaith gathering, and they invited me as a guest. I went for that in good faith. When I came back, I was blamed and shamed. Why did you go to the Israeli consulate? We don't have a conversation. I couldn't understand what I had done wrong. I just had gone for an event, and so this thing haunts me a lot. When you use the word mukawama and the anti-normalization, this is don't have a normal relationship with the Jews. This is a pervasive uh, psychology. Can you just explain to us what your experience was with these two concepts and with your work?
So that's not even a local, that's a personal aspect of the conflict, or for me as an Israeli Jewish woman going to the West Bank. And then please remind me to talk about the mukawama, because it's very, very important. So, first of all, every Palestinian I've ever met believe that I am working for the Mossad. Okay, it's always suspicious. Like no one trusts you, but it's I have to say it's mutual. We do not trust each other, right? Um, so they think we are working for the Mossad, and we think that they are terrorists, right? They are probably going to cut us into salads and send us back in a box. So it's very, very typical. And then I always make fun of it, because what can you do when someone blames you that you work? Obviously, I look like a James Bond girl. It's me. And then who would imagine that the Mossad will put in the West Bank someone who doesn't speak Arabic, doesn't look local, right? Why would they choose me out of all of the options, right? Why
Basic.
would the Mossad, the best, intelligence institute in the world, probably one of the best, would choose someone like me who doesn't look Arab, who doesn't speak Arabic, who doesn't look local to and the Mossad doesn't work in Israel and Palestine. That's the Shin Bet, the other organization. So it's just a funny thing. But once you are from first step is blamed to work for the Mossad, that's a very low place to start with, right? So no, just imagine no trust, and I'm so thankful. Really, I'm so thankful to God that He blessed me with these abilities to cross these borders, to cross these obstacles, and to establish true trust between me and Palestinians. I think that if God didn't give me that, I could never do my job. I could never establish that trust in the room for people to open up to hear who is in the other side. And also, to come home and to talk about the Palestinians that I've met, to bring them here, to bring Israelis to hear about the moderate majority of Palestinians living behind the wall, living at the West Bank. So it's just all the time.
You use the word moderate majority.
Yes,
A moderate majority. Good. Okay.
that's worldwide. Okay, I think that the global aspect of the problem is that we are Western societies, Western values, openness, everything that has to do with freedom and openness and civil rights, and the fact that the institutions supposed to work for the civilians, and rather than in different countries, even in the Middle East, it's the people that work and sacrifice themselves for the leaders. So if we want the Western values to exist, we must look at what is threatening that, and this is what's threatening us. So we are the majority. The majority of the people everywhere are moderate, so they might have a radical opinion about something, but they will not act with violence. They will not act violently against someone who holds a different opinion. For me, that's moderation. Okay, it's not
So
about your.
how do you then differentiate between moderation and radical?
So I, not once, not twice, I had to stand and talk to people that said, you cannot live here. This is not your home. Go back to where your parents came from. This is Palestine, blah, blah, blah. That sounds to Israelis very, very frightening. And it was very frightening, But they let me sleep in their homes. They fed me. they made me feel very safe. They would guard me with their lives, right? So it's there's a difference between what narratives people voice that has to do with where they grew up, and I differentiate that with what their behavior is. So that's a very moderate behavior to have an Israeli woman sleeping in your home. You feed her, you protect her, you make sure she's warm at night, right? That's you believe that this land is Palestine and that Jews have no place in here. That's radical. But then when you are acting, you're acting moderately. So that's
Okay.
how I see that most Israelis, Palestinians, or Americans,
Okay.
whatever, everyone, we can have our own opinions. We grew up to have our own narratives. That's how we know where we belong, right? We belong to this group of people that we believe, we feel it's our tribe. But are we going to hurt someone, to hit someone, to kill someone, to even, be violent to them just because we think that? I don't think. Most of us don't. So I think that the problem of the moderate world is radicalism. Radicalism uses lies, as you said, uses money, uses people, uses poverty, uses weaponry to. That's why I call the global jihad. They are using the Western world's values and language narratives to enhance their effect, and
Okay.
that's very, very dangerous, actually.
You might be one of those people who we might get the closest to, who is Israeli Jew, who goes to the West Bank, has a peaceful relationship with majority Palestinians. You even eat and drink and sleep in their homes, um, and just I just am I'm just can't comprehend the level of courage that you have to do what you're doing, and also to hope in some Palestinians who have welcomed you into their homes. So then, Inbal, what is the largest obstacle then, according to your understanding?
So, looking at October 7th, it's a milestone for everybody here. Obviously, for me, back then, a mother of a soldier in the IDF, myself, was post-traumatic from that event I shared before. Suddenly, this evilness, this tsunami of evil doings is entering our country. It's like 40 minutes drive from here. I don't know what's going on with my girl in the IDF. I don't know what's going on with their friends. Everybody, once your child is in the army, everybody's in the army. Every friend that you always, all these kids that studied here, all their friends, it was really, really heartbreaking. I'm still affected by it. It's I don't
Where
think we
were
will
you?
ever.
Where were
We
you
will.
when you heard the
I
news?
was at home, and
Okay.
you will not believe who woke me up for the first siren at 6:29 a.m. It was a Palestinian friend that stayed over.
Oh,
So a Palestinian friend saying, "Hey, there's a siren going on," and I'm like, "No, no way!" And he said, "Yes." And then me and my Palestinian friend going down to the shelter. I'm living in this building, and we have a shelter underneath, like everybody here. And but that was very normal. There were Palestinians visiting here very often. So my kids, met Palestinians, my neighbors, everybody knew about them. It wasn't a secret, but to actually, thinking back that this is what happened to me on October 7th, that a Palestinian friend woke me up saying, there's a siren we didn't know what's going on. We never expected that. It wasn't something that we expected to happen at that morning.
what were her words
And
to you? What did
what?
she tell you? What were her words to you? Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
there,
Did
I
she hold
think
her
I,
head?
no, she said, I think there's a siren. And I said, nah. and it was a
Um,
siren. Anyhow, I think that I want to address the other, so the Mukawama, and its connection to October 7th. So around us, there is what we call the axis of resistance, in Arabic, al-muqawama. The axis of resistance is an ideal, okay? It's a political, military, social, it touches every aspect of life. And the muqawama is this movement of, especially in Arab countries, but also in this region, countries and terror organizations, let me call them, that believe that they should resist any effect, any Western or Israeli effect in the region, any occupation, unless Muslim, okay, in the region. So Muslim can conquer other countries. You know, there are huge Muslim conquerors, and they've reached all the way to Spain and Europe and Asia, and you know, people that were never Muslims before the rise of the Muslims. Societies, countries that were never Muslim became Muslim because of the Muslim conquerors. But the axis of resistance believes that they must resist to any foreign occupation and effect in the Middle East, in the Levant, in the Sham.
Oh.
And this is very much used by the radicals, by Iran, Hezbollah, the Houthis, many other terror organizations in North Africa, and of course Hamas, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Many factions here and militias are using these ideas to have, you know, justification to resist the state of Israel as a place for Jews and Muslims. Of course, we live here together, and Muslims were also killed and kidnapped and raped and on October 7th. They did not differentiate between Israeli Jews and Israeli Muslims when they came in.
Yeah.
And of course, people from Thailand, Filipinos, you know, they took everyone. So of course, we also, you know, we know it from before, but October 7th was an actualization of the resistance and the ideology, the radical ideology that in order to resist everything that is foreign, not Muslim, not Arab, in the entire Levant, you can do whatever you want, right? You are free to rape, you are free to cut heads, you're free to kidnap babies and grandparents, and everything is allowed with the ideology of the resistance.
So is it taught? Is it taught?
Yes.
In
So
schools?
it's a common knowledge, you know, it's everybody. And actually the idea of anti-normalization is also taught by UNRWA, by the UN. UNRWA is the educator of the Palestinian people. And UNRWA is actually the one teaching the Palestinian children that this is reality. There's no other reality. It took me years to teach my friends and my colleagues, my Palestinian friends and colleagues about, another reality. How we call these, like, what's the name of Haifa in Hebrew? What's the name of Jaffa in Hebrew? We live here, it's about why are we here? Who is King Salman? I mean, it's all written in the Quran, but it's overlooked, right? It's overlooked. Palestinians don't ask themselves, who is King Solomon? Many Palestinians are called by Jewish names, right? But who is Abraham? Who are these people? Who are these kings? And why are we Jews? What is Judea? They don't ask themselves, and also it's not a democratic country. You cannot speak the wrong narrative.
Right. So what's the difference then between Mukawama and Tatbiya?
So Mukawama is actually you need to act according to the Tatbiya is the laws. Okay, it's the infrastructure of the law, and then resistance is what you do to resist. And so you not only boycott, you also resist by doing things, by killing, by rising up, by so it's look at Iran, what they are doing against Israel. Look at Hezbollah. I mean, just imagine. I always think about all of these billions of dollars spent in the Mukawama, in the huge effort to erase Israel from the map. Just imagine of all these billions. Many of them are originated in Western countries, right, by donations. Just imagine all of that money going into, different teaching about, I don't know, education, about, just imagine what you could do with all that money. You think about everything that Hamas created in Gaza, the underworld of Gaza. Just imagine what would Gaza look like if all of that money would be invested in normal life, right? Life the way you and me are imagining for our children.
Right. Wow.
And all of these victims also, so the Mukawama is also using the suffering of its own people to against the West or against Israel, right? It's see how many children died, see how many people got killed, see how many people. That's something that they are using for years, not just after October 7th, putting the terrorists in safe places while the civilians are so exposed to the retaliation of the other side, right? It doesn't matter if these are Americans in Afghanistan or Israelis in Gaza, whatever. It's always the civilians that are taking the retaliation, and then they are playing with the numbers, playing with the narratives to say, hunger in Gaza, 70,000 people, among them 30,000 people are. Nobody knows that these are the numbers, but even if it's half of it, it's still a lot. It's still heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to me too, but who is putting these civilians in harm's way?
Yeah. So, Inbal, some anti-normalization voices advocate for a complete denunciation of any contract with Israelis. Complete.
Yeah.
And that
Not
Palestinians, yes, and that Palestinians should not talk or cooperate with Israelis until the end of the occupation of the West Bank. Others
oh no, until the end of the occupation of the entire land, from the river to the sea.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Until there is no occupation.
Others support contact and collaboration and joint struggle with Israelis as long as it is directed towards dismantling the existing structures. So, in your work and with the Palestinians, do they know the difference and do they speak against it or for it?
So it's a very complicated situation. First of all, there are many interests. So many Palestinians have businesses with Israelis. The Palestinian Authority collaborates with Israel on a daily basis. So it can be used against the Palestinian, and many Palestinians that are participating in a meeting with Israelis can be called to investigation or interrogation later on. But then again, you see that the EPA is collaborating with the IDF, and there are many go back and forth, and there is commerce, and so it's between the Israelis and Palestinians. It's not black and white. We are very mixed. We used to be much more mixed before the first and second Intifada. That's when we must, the Israeli side had to really, put the checkpoints and everything, because the violence came from the West Bank and from Gaza into Israel. And, bombs in buses and bombs in hotels and, bombs everywhere. So that's when all of this system of differentiating the two groups, the two societies started. Then the border, there was no border, and there were no checkpoints, and there was nothing. Everything was mixed when I was younger. I was actually visiting Gaza when I was younger. Everything was open. But then the intifadas, they made Israel think, create the system of separation to have something stopping the terror attacks coming into the country, into Israel.
So it is the intifadas that gave rise to these security measures that Israel had to take.
Yes, before, when I was a child, everything was open, and people from Palestine could go to all the way with their car to the beach, and they did.
Can you explain the term intifada to our people?
So the intifadas, there were two intifadas, were the rising of the people. And of course, it's always not something, voluntary. It always has to do with
Violence.
With interest and power. And so it was Yasser Arafat, I think, in the beginning. I don't remember all the details, but there was a rising against the Israeli occupation in the West Bank that was, it was never like an Israeli territory because it was always dispute. But so, it just, people can read about the intifadas. It was just horrific. And
horrific.
then,
horrific, yes, because time is running out. I want to get to this question of the Palestinian Authority. It is ruling the West Bank, but it is also cooperating, in some instances collaborating with the Israeli government. And so, but the Palestinians, how popular is the Palestinian Authority, and why is it so weak? Is it controlled by Hamas?
So the political situation, I'm not a politician, I'm not an expert in politics, but the political situation is, again, something very complicated in the West Bank. Yes, the PA controls the West Bank, unlike the Gaza that was controlled by Hamas. But Hamas, even though I don't know why people still support Hamas after October 7th and everything that happened to Gaza, the Hamas is very supported because they are perceived to embody, these ideals of the mukawama and the resistance and the anti-normalization. There is the PA that works with Israel that, yes, it has been weakened also by Israel, I wouldn't lie, and also it has been corrupted. Like, I don't know any regional leader that is not corrupt according to Western values. I'm talking, because they have different values, but in our eyes, in Western eyes, they are all corrupt. They're all taking care of themselves. Narrow. We didn't talk about that aspect, but they have narrow interest to keep their power, to keep control, to gain reach, to become richer and richer and more powerful. So this is how it works. And I think the Palestinians in the West Bank, I wish Palestinians, even in the diaspora, could, join to have this new generation, new leadership that will have a different vision, a different purpose for Palestine, a peaceful, thriving, democratic, maybe. It doesn't have to be democratic. It can be like the UAE, right? They're not democratic, but they are thriving and they have this vision of prosperity and moderna, we call it.
Yeah.
I'm so sad that the Palestinians did not establish, even in the diaspora, they did not establish such new leadership, and their leadership is corrupted and it's old, and it's not very popular, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, Inbal, the BDS movement, that's also a type of tatbiya, right? It is not only to boycott and divest and sanction Israel, but it also, correct me if I'm wrong, and for the listeners, it also, the BDS, included in the BDS is that a full and unlimited return, or the right to return.
Yes.
And that means that, what does that say to you, to talk about the BDS and its impact?
So, I don't want to get into the right of return, another obstacle for peace, because it's another huge thing. We must have another talk. So just imagine that the idea is to have a Palestinian state for Palestinians with no Jews, right? No settlements, whatever. And then that the state of Israel, the Jewish state, will have the right of return to all the Palestinians and their generations, the sixth generation since then. So millions of Palestinians coming back to the Israeli Jewish state, and then the Palestinian state is free of Jews. So that means two Muslim Palestinian states, right? Again, we are going back to the idea that the state of Israel doesn't exist as a Jewish state. So that's the connection between the BDS and the idea of the mukawama, the resistance, and the anti-normalization. No, that's a very, very, it's not easy here.
And in the West, those who are supporting the BDS.
Yes, because I think
they don't understand this.
People, they're using narratives that speak to the West, very popular or populist language. And most of the young people don't understand anything. And I think that's why it's important that we speak. But I think before we finish, it's because we don't have a lot of time. So just important for me to say, moderate people are the majority. We are the majority. Everybody who listens to that talk, we are the majority, but you must act accordingly. You must voice yourselves. You must support other moderate activities. You must support other moderate people, no matter what their religion is, no matter what group they belong to. They want to live together peacefully, prosperity. I don't know how to say it in English, right? With prosperity, with dignity. This is what we must do. We must speak up. We are the majority, but other small groups, radical groups, narrow-minded groups, narrow interest holders group, they control the narratives, they control the media, they control everything. We shouldn't let that happen. We shouldn't.
What does normalization look like for you? Normalization, not anti-normalization. What does Israel have to do and what do the Palestinians have to do?
You have questions that I will need 3 hours to answer, but
I know, just basically.
For me, just for all the moderate people, which again, it's the majority, will somehow find something that looks like probably with the taste of, I don't know, living together in different groups. So each group must have their own way of life. We shouldn't make anybody be whatever they are not. And then live and let live and respect each other. Make sure that the resources are well preserved and built, and that everybody is also defending the other. It's not that we defend our radicals and they defend their radicals. No, all the moderate people should defend each other against radicalism, no matter what is the source of the radicalism. So it's like it's a vision I can talk about for hours, but in a short way.
Do you see that happening? Do you see a special role the Palestinian women can play in this regard, Inbal? De-radicalization.
I wish, because Palestinian women, it's a conservative. Most of the Palestinian people are conservative, so the woman is not the strong part of the family. It's true about many Muslim women across the Middle East, not just Palestinians. It's not specific to Palestinians, but in the Arab culture, the Muslim women are not as strong as men. They don't get to decide about politics and stuff outside of the home. So I hope that they will speak up, and there are groups of Palestinian women movements of Palestinian women here in the area. Regional, how would you call movements, I would say, that are trying to affect the situation. From my experience, and maybe I'm wrong, hopefully I'm wrong, because they are conservative, the way to really make a difference is to work with the men. But if the women, of course, support, that's amazing. Of course, women raise children. That's also important. Many of them are teachers. That's also important. So they have a role. But,
You know,
in
Inbal, I work a lot in Africa, and I'm reminded of this movement started by Lema Gabovi, a Liberian woman. One day, the civil war was going on. There were terrorism, there were corruption, there was killing. Her little son wanted a piece of donut, and couldn't have the means to give that to her. So then she gathered Muslim and Christian women in Liberia, and they started the Liberian peace movement, where finally they overthrew the government, and then they installed the first female Liberian president. So powerful were the women who organized, and there was a lot of solidarity. And in my work and my vision, I always have a lot of, I invest a lot in women's leadership. With patriarchy that you're talking about, is that a deterrent for Palestinian women to stand up? Because the men, for 75 years, they've just not changed anything for us.
it's I think this is, we are going into your purpose, not mine, and I think you are very needed here, so welcome to do anything, any magic you can do. And I can almost say inshallah, inshallah, we need every bit of of goodness here,
Yes,
of good
you know,
intervention.
that is so true. We had so much to say. I was talking over you, looking at the time. You know, Ehud Barak, your prime minister from 1999 to 2001, said, they say the Middle East, a pessimist is simply an optimist with experience. So I see you as someone like that. Tell me, lastly, I want to ask you, you said this conflict has a regional, global, and a local dimension. What is your message for Muslims? And what is your message, particularly for the diaspora Palestinians in the United States?
This is the time to dream differently. Imagine and create the next vision of a prosperous, peace building agenda, thriving community for your own country. I'm sorry for the dog. And the state of Israel was not born in Israel, it was born in Europe. The vision was born in Europe. And for people that live in the diaspora in modern free countries, you can do that. You can create your new leadership and create this vision of a prosperous, thriving, peace-oriented country for the Palestinian people. To have the greatest neighbor, to work together. We can reach the moon together. But we must stop putting all the resources on war.
Right. So does Palestine need elections then?
I wouldn't do elections now, because then we will have Hamas in the West Bank too. But first must be a vision for a prosperous, peaceful land here, very close to my home, right? 40
Yes.
minutes from my home.
Mm.
They must put a stop to the dream that we will all disappear and that Israel will cease to exist. That will never happen. They're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. A different vision is needed.
Yes. And today, as a Muslim woman, I want to assert, yes, Israel is not going anywhere. Israel, they are living in their ancestral home. And if, as Muslims, we read the Quran, we should know better. Zionism is a Quranic prophecy. All
Exactly.
Muslims have to be Zionists. There's no two words about it.
The prophet said it. This land belongs to the Israelites.
Yes,
The prophet
definitely.
said it.
Yeah, and frankly, Inbal, to people like you, I have to say sorry, because this little country, surrounded by Arab countries, that we did not have a generosity in our hearts to say, live and thrive. It really makes me cry, you know.
Me too.
Yes, it is a moment for me to really hold back my tears. We have failed y'all. And I say, I'm really sad about that. And please know that we have to change, as you said, we have to change, yes. And achieving peace, as we all know, in the Middle East is a complex, it's multifaceted and requires mutual recognition. Getting back to some serious stuff here. Security for Israel, Palestinian rights, ending radicalization, and fostering economic cooperation is all critical. And strong international diplomacy is needed, differing visions, as Inbal said, and a Palestinian leadership is critically needed. How can we empower that Palestinian leadership so that we also be really serious about resolving some unresolved issues like Jerusalem, the settlements. There are also major obstacles. So we need new leadership, and how can we bring about that?
New vision, new inspiration. And I must go. I'm sorry, but I cannot express myself. I cannot say how thankful I am for this amazing call, this important call, and for this amazing platform, and for you. And I really feel your heart. And I want to say, you don't owe me any apology. I don't feel, I'm not angry about anyone, you know. I'm not angry about Palestinians that believe in these beliefs. This is how it is. This is how it is. And it's on us to change this. We can do it. We must do it. It's not only for the region. It's not only locally for Israelis and Palestinians. It's for the entire world, the entire free world. We must make the difference. So I thank you all for listening. Thank you for talking about these important things, for letting me express myself. I just want to say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
you can,
Shalom.
of course, follow me on LinkedIn. And be my guest. Ask me any question.
Yes, we'll
I'm always here to
continue the conversation. You be a mentor and a teacher to us. Your experience, your journey is so important. Shabbat Shalom to you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yes.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.